Shalom, my friends. This is Rabbi Stuart Darrowman from Interfaithfulness, where we're building bridges, where history builds walls. Jersey City, New Jersey. What do you think of when you think of Jersey City, New Jersey? From now on, for many of us, certainly for most of us Jews here in the States, when we think of Jersey City, New Jersey, we'll think of dead Jews. Because that's what happened this week. Two people showed up at the JC Kosher Supermarket in Jersey City, New Jersey, with one intention, to kill Jews. And that's what they did. They killed three of them. They killed a policeman. They themselves were killed. They had killed another policeman earlier in the day. They came for blood, and that's what they got. We're living in unstable times. These are especially dangerous times for Jews, when everyone agrees that anti-Semitism is on the uprise. I was reminded of a friend of mine who lived in France who couldn't go to synagogue some days because the authorities would say, don't go to synagogue, we don't have enough soldiers to put at the doors of all the synagogues. Because you couldn't go to synagogue in Paris at certain times unless there were soldiers at the door to protect you. Toulouse, France, was as bad or worse. We're living in dangerous times. And we need to ask about how we can have a stable worship community at a time when life is unstable. And we also need to ask what kind of community will build the faith of the people involved best. I think the answer to both questions is the same. And we're going to be looking at it a little bit today. As we look at faith in unstable times, it's all in the family. I'm going to be looking with you at something I just ran across from the writings of one of my favorite scholars. His name is Craig Keener, and he's a prodigious Bible scholar, extraordinary man. And here's what he says. When persecution comes, homes or even caves or forests become more natural and often safer meeting places than the big meeting place. He's talking particularly about megachurches, but large gatherings. When transportation becomes difficult, as in the case of fuel shortages, neighborhood churches become more serviceable, and that holds for Messianic synagogues as well. That we see something of both models in Acts suggests that what matters is not a prefabricated format, but what works for the kingdom. Still, Acts itself shows us that even in Jerusalem, where the church, the community of Yeshua believers, could meet in the public temple, they also met in homes. They broke bread together, something more suitable in a household setting. Probably the 12 apostles also made rounds in many of these homes. And I think that's the way people got discipled. Towards the end of the book of Acts, Paul comes up to Jerusalem, and Yaakov, James, who's the most influential Jewish believer of that generation, says to him, you see, brother Shaul, Paul, how many myriads of Jews there are who have believed in Yeshua, and they're all zealous for the law. Myriads is tens of thousands. There were tens of thousands. But how did they get developed in the Yeshua faith? Not in the big temple meeting. They did that in their homes. That all the churches in the New Testament ultimately met in homes, wherever else they may have gathered when that was possible, is important because it reminds us about the churches, the community's DNA. We are family, and therefore a family setting is helpful. Still more important, we are one body with interdependent gifts, and we need a setting sufficiently intimate for us to contribute our gifts to one another. By itself, watching a sermon or even a worship team is not church. It's not the community functioning as it should, although we do need people to preach and to lead worship. We function as the people of God and community when we are in relationship with one another. If we designed our architecture to that end, we would be facing one another rather than facing a stage. And that brings up one of my pet metaphors, in that we need spirituality to grow in face-to-face relationships. That's where it grows. I want to tell you a story before I let you go. When I came to California in 1973, that's a long time ago, I was involved in a house group that met in the Bronx, New York. I have history with this kind of model. And I decided I was going to go to California and become the music director of Jews for Jesus. So I told the folks there that's what I was going to do. And one of the elders said to me, "Wait a minute, Stuart, I don't understand this." I said, "What?" He said, "You just decide you're going to go and you come and tell us and that's it? We're family. We're supposed to process these things together. It's not like you just kind of drop this on us and just walk out the door." He was very right. We tend to function like individuals who just happen to show up at a certain location at a certain time on a certain day of the week, and we happen to sit next to other individuals who gather there at the same time, same day, same place. But that's not the way it's supposed to be. We're supposed to be interdependent. We're supposed to be interlocked. We're supposed to be one body. We're supposed to be a community that really recognizes it needs each other. And the place for that to happen is in these surrogate family gatherings. That's the only way that Yeshua believers met for the first 300 years of the Yeshua believing communities. It's something I'm devoting myself to, and I'm in partnership with Dr. Bruce Stokes, who for 35 years has been teaching behavioral science and is a master at understanding human relationships. Well, there's a lot more to say about that later on, but right now I just want to leave you with this model, something to think about, and I want to leave you with the promise that I'm going to keep talking about it in different ways on different days, because we are family together and we need to function like a family in unstable times. Shalom for now.